back with the leaders of our Cork City Marathon and a half marathon, and also joined by Ken Nason, one of the coaches. So again, it's been a few weeks, but good to see all these faces again, and welcome back to the YouTube episode, guys. Good to catch up.
Thank you.
Great to catch up.
Thank you.
Everybody's smiling anyway, so I hope that's a positive sign. Andy, what have you been watching these guys over the last few weeks?
Yeah, they're still smiling because it's not gone to the business end of the training plans yet.
Yeah. Again, just to quickly go through, so we have Padraig, Angeline, and Fergal who are doing the full Cork Marathon. Again, a good geographical spread there with the guys. And Aisling is obviously our representative for the half marathon, all the way from Switzerland, but is Irish, so she's okay. And we have Ken Nason, just down the road, Ken, with us as well tonight. So we might start off, guys. I'll start with you, Aisling, because you're the sole half marathon representative there. Obviously, you've started training with Ken, and you've entered into the early stages of your training. I don't think you had an actual personal coach before, have you? You haven't had a personal coach before?
Never had a coach before, so I think it's although I have been doing a lot of running myself, I definitely think it's a huge change to go from just going out doing whatever you feel like to actually having a structure and a plan. So it's a complete new routine.
Yeah, and the accountability side of it, maybe, was that a change?
Oh, completely, yeah. I think it's something, to be honest, I've really been considering on and off for the last year, definitely. And I think when it came to the end, I always just kind of said, oh no, I'll just keep going what I'm doing. But then there was always that thing, if I did a race, I was like wondering if I had a coach, could I have done this time? Could I have, and I think you see more and more people nowadays also have coaches. So, and they're all, getting PRs and things like that. So you're kind of going, oh, am I missing out here on an opportunity? And like that, I think definitely on the days when you're struggling a bit more to get out, there's definitely that accountability side that I think you would be lacking if you're just kind of going off your own kind of motivation to get up and go.
Yeah. And I think for you, Aisling, in particular, obviously from episode 1, we learned a bit about you, and you have podiumed at a few races. So you have obviously achieved quite a lot even on your own, with your own guidance. But I think when we've often spoke about this on the podcast episodes, it gets harder and harder to find those couple of seconds, find that 1%. And I think when you do get to a certain level, this is where probably a coach comes in hugely. I'm going to maybe turn to you now, Ken, if you don't mind. So Ken,
no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, Ken is guiding Aisling. So Ken maybe take us through your side of the relationship, I suppose, and as a coach.
She's laughing. Well, basically, my side is to kind of get the best communication possible out of Aisling. So when I'm framing the week for her, is getting our easy runs in, our tempos, our intervals and things like that. But she's all the way over in Switzerland. Say if I'm giving her a workout like 5 or 6 by K or something like that, I want to know what, if we run 3:30, we run 3:40 for a K. I need to know what that effort was. So if Aisling's on the track, peeled out for about 20 minutes because she told me 3:30s were easy, then when it comes to a race in a few weeks' time, we'll know why she didn't run the race well. So it's like, I suppose it's trying to establish really good communication and just going that if someone needs to ask you 1,000 questions, please ask them. Whereas if someone's asking no questions, then you're wondering. And probably Aisling's probably sick of me going, oh, that run was a bit too fast on an easy day and things like that. But I'm trying to tweak to try to get the best out of her harder sessions, and then we're trying to establish how much I can give out to her without feeling like I'm giving out too much, and her saying, oh, Ken's going to kill me if I do this or that.
I was going to ask, actually, Ashton, did Ken give out to you yet?
No, he hasn't. I think that was probably the biggest struggle, I think, from the start. The easy runs, especially because I've always just went out and done whatever, 4 minutes pace. So now it's really trying to bring it back to run slower. And some days it's typical that the days that, you might be set up for an easy run, you feel like you're going easy, and then you look at the watch and you're like, oh shit, I'm going too fast. And then, like you said, then when you're out and you're trying to do your speed sessions and you're there trying to hit 3:30 a kilometer, you know, and it's typically maybe a windier day when you're at the track and things kind of start to go against you, but you have to kind of put in your head as well, like these are the type of things that you can control as well on race day. And just to, like you said, really kind of give that feedback. And I think as well, I do struggle with the 80% part, because you're kind of going, is this actually the 80%, or am I kind of more veering towards the 95%, which I think that has been the case. But I suppose I do like, you know, the challenge. And definitely for me, like if there's days there where I feel like I haven't hit the target like 100%, I feel like I've kind of not really achieved it. But then again, you know, it's all learning and practice. But definitely it helps having Ken there to guide.
Yeah, just to come in on that point, because it was a question we actually had on the podcast from one of our listeners last Sunday as well, was, you know, all about easy runs. And I think it's kind of, I don't mean neglect, it's kind of overlooked far too much. Like people don't run easy enough, Ken. Would that be fair? I've seen it a
But
lot, like, yeah.
yeah, and like relative easy is like you can't define it as like 7:30 this or 8 to this. Easy is what's easy for that particular person. There's people who might train at like I'll have to talk in Ks now, I suppose. Would train at a lot faster paces than like and be 2 or 3 minutes slower in their easy runs or whatever. But they're still able to achieve 3 or 4 minutes faster in their actual interval sessions and stuff like that. Like the term junk mileage is really what it is like that 20 odd % of your training is done at that intensity, where everything else is junk mileage. You know, it's padding those harder sessions, you know. But
Yeah.
if we can't hit our interval sessions, if we can't hit our tempo runs and things like that, and we're fatiguing in those, right? It's down to nutrition, recovery, or easy runs. We then need to back off our easy runs and kind of be more recovered going into those sessions.
Yeah, interesting.
And
Paul, sorry, go on, Andy.
no, isn't it? It's something that I think of as well. You know, like as your training goes on, you'll get more confident, you'll get fitter. That is when you really need to watch your pace, because you'll be thinking, oh, I'm getting fitter here now, I can push it a bit. Whereas, as you said, you need to keep it controlled, keep it steady, because you need to be at your strongest for your sessions, like, isn't it?
But have you ever felt, Andy, say after you've done a really good tempo workout, right?
Mm.
The next day, isn't it very hard to keep it slow?
Yeah, it is actually, yeah.
But that's when you need to keep it slow, because that's then you're like, it's recovery and you need to be recovered for the next session. But because you've run so fast on the tempo, the next day you're like, oh, I can't slow down by 2 minutes here or whatever, because I feel so good. But it's the one time when you need to say to yourself, you know what? It's recovery, slow down. I want to get to the next workout in 2 or 3 days' time and feel fresh again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you see, guys, Ken likes to talk, so that's he's a great coach to have on. He's a good talker.
I get that.
If Dave was on, he'd be saying more, but we'll move to Padraig next. Like, Padraig, you've had an eventful, I think, start to your campaign, we'll call it, like, which has included injury, and like that's a big thing as well to try. Like, again, something we've often said in the past, the biggest part about training for a marathon is actually arriving on the day of the marathon to be able to get there in the first place, because the training is a test to the body as well.
Yeah. It was most embarrassing, because the narrative has been like, well, he's old, so he needs to be careful and not to push it too early because he might get injured. And even Patrick had said in his interview with you on the YouTube channel, well, we just need to make sure. And I think the next day I went out and or then that weekend I went out and did my hamstring for a mug at Clonakilty race, and as in a drinking mug, not me being a mug. So yeah, it was annoying, but then I was going, well, I need to be honest on the journey, and I need to kind of maybe just make sure I diary this whole journey as well. But I laugh when Ken is talking about picking up the speeds. I'm lucky if I'm doing dead slow and stop at the moment, just so I don't pull my hamstring again. But it is good on talking about the coach narrative and Patrick and physio. It's great to have people saying, I know you'll be fine. You can run, you can take it slow. just take it up a percentage for your tempo run, but don't go too, this sort of advice that I've never done my hamstring before, so I haven't really been injured. So it was nice to have someone that knows to say, just chill out. And if you can't push it, just take it easy, pull back. And ever since I've had that kind of encouragement and advice, then I don't feel so bad going out and, doing park runs really slow. But
And just as a matter of interest, Padraig, have you worked with a coach in the past?
no, I've worked with apps which don't interact with you. They just kind of
Yeah.
and I think it was I was listening back to one of your episodes where you were talking about coaches, and like anybody can dish out a plan, but nobody can give you that advice. Just an app isn't going to say if you pull your hamstring, just run at 70% of your, park run pace or whatever it might be. Do you know what I mean? Down, or you can run on a hamstring. An app isn't going to tell you that. So that's the bit that I found really, really good. And Patrick, then in working with a physio that I went to see, was able to give me a strength and conditioning program based on the exercises he was doing. So that was particularly well.
I think, I think for me, like a coach is nearly more valuable to you when you're injured than when you're actually running well. Because when you're running well, everything's going smoothly. You like grand. Whereas when you're injured, you need someone to be kind of saying, "Whoa, you need to settle down," or try this, try this. I think like because if you didn't know, you're just going to go maybe push too early, and you could be doing more damage than good.
Yeah. And I found actually being injured, I was never good at maintaining a steady pace. So I'd always be a little bit erratic. And I mean, I'm not the standard of you guys, but if I'm in a race, I could be like flying at 1 minute, slowing it down. Whereas at least now I need to be aware that to take my pace steady, and I've got a little niggle in the hamstring that makes me go pull back a little bit, but I'm using my watch and I'm going, actually, that's pretty good. I'm pretty steady now. So it has taught me that as well. And working with Kieran, does, I have to go out and do a tempo run for 45 minutes. So I'm more aware now of maintaining that pace for that time as well. So yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good. And I think documenting it as well and feeling a little bit of pressure that you've just been injured in the pub.
Comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's been quite good as well. Helpful.
Great. I know we've enjoyed watching it as well. Angelina Fergal, you're still talking, you're still smiling, and you're still training, as far as I'm aware. Training as a marathon couple, though, that's an interesting topic as well. Talk us through how you've been getting on.
It's all been going quite good. I would say probably tag team would be the way to describe it, because especially on these longer runs now coming in, it's like, oh, I'll get up that wee bit earlier. I'll try and get out, come home, and then Fergal will go. So it's about managing time is probably the most difficult thing, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just planning the runs in ahead of time.
Yes.
I think we have Angeline's mother looking after the kids on a Tuesday and Wednesday, which sort of gives us an opportunity to get an easy run in together. And then obviously then when you're doing the longer runs then at the weekends or anything, like it's, I think it was like a half marathon there on Sunday.
Yeah. And
so you did a half marathon on Saturday, right, for 2 hours.
Yes.
And then I did one on Sunday. But it's not a half marathon on paper. It's like a 3-mile warm up and then running for 60 minutes or something, and then 3-mile cool down. So it's like
it's a bit deceiving on paper.
Yeah.
So you've got to the stage where you have babysitters to go running now, as opposed to babysitters for nights out.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. And as part was saying, like it's that accountability and the you have to get the training done.
Yes.
Like the week plan there, and we know then what each of us have to do. Like, and then it's just figured out how you do it. And I'd say that junk mileage term there is like, even when you're getting it tight, like, and you're out there, like, you're just sort of thinking, I have to just get the miles in, like, you know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is.
Who would have thought there's a lot of running and marathon training?
Can I ask you this? Are you enjoying it?
Some days.
Some days.
Oh no, it's oh no, we actually did our first half marathon there, official race half marathon last Saturday. One of my friends got injured and then she gave me a place, and then we managed to get Fergal a place as well, so it wasn't pre-planned in, but it was an opportunity, and we thought, right, well, Kieran was able to then work that around our training plan to get it slotted in. And like, we surprised ourselves, and it's amazing how when you're out running on your own, you're that bit slower, but then once you're running in a race, you sort of find energy, or like, I think that was the
it was definitely, because I know Kieran mentioned races, and I suppose it goes back to sport, like, you train, but then when the games is what you're really training for, and then you go out and you're able to perform at your best. And as Park said, with injuries as well, like, you sort of going out now, and like even yesterday, like I was meant to do 5 mile, but then I just felt a tweak in me groin, and I was like, I'll just did 2.5, and like, call it quits at that, because I think there's more coming, more important training down the line. So definitely enjoying it. But there's a line that a writer doesn't enjoy writing, they enjoy having written. So whenever you have the run done, it's great. So
well, I can
sorry.
Yeah, I can vouch anyway, because obviously I saw in Kieran's group chat after that race you were on a series high. So
we were buzzing.
Yeah.
It was a genuinely great day, and it was really good conditions. And the first couple of miles of the half marathon was slightly uphill, but you had a wee bit of energy at the start, and then it just seemed to gradually go downhill with a flat finish. And it was just beautiful, like the sea air, and it was a really calm day. So we were really happy with the times. Like, I sort of hit like my marathon pace that I want, for the 13 miles at this stage. Now, I haven't been able to really hit that since. I think I'm still trying to recover from that half marathon.
Definitely still recovering from that.
Maybe that's all part of it too.
But you said something there, Fergal, I think is very important. And I think anybody who thinks they're going to get through, whether it be a half marathon or a full marathon program, without having an off day, or without having, as you said, you felt a little niggle or a twinge, whatever, and you did the right thing, you backed off. Like, I had certainly some of those days in my last marathon block where, you're going out and you have a session to do, and then for whatever reason it's just not there. The worst thing to do is flog yourself and burn yourself out. So, like, calling it, obviously if it's happening very regularly, that's a different problem. But like the day it happens, you kind of have to just maybe walk away and face it again. Ken, as a coach, again, good days, bad days?
Yeah, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but like, definitely, like as Fergal said, you don't run through it. He needs to be messaged in Kieran and said, listen, I'm tired today, I've had all this on, should I improvise around the run? I had a planned session today, should I switch it to the next day? Like, that's all the questions. Like, that's why the coach is there, that's why we're there. You need to go, oh, what will I do? Send a message. And we're there to kind of work everything around you. There'll be family, the kids are sick, there's so many things going on. There'll be people like, oh, Ken, I went out, like, the worst thing for me is like, Ken, I went out and ran 20 miles, but I was absolutely wrecked beforehand. I'm probably going to tell you not to do it, and just change it around, rejig it,
And do you know what? It's funny because, like, obviously yourself and Kieran are experts. I've trained with Kieran for the last 7 years. Like, I've done 11 marathons, and like, he'd never try. So like, if you think, right, I don't feel up for this, he'll never try and get you to make up for it. It's kind of like, park that. Next week is a new week. Like, as in those 11 marathons, I've never had a perfect training block. It's just not possible in a marathon. It's not possible.
But that's an important fact. Like, I had someone was training someone during the week, and they're like, can I miss that tempo? I was sick at the weekend. Will I make up for it Monday? Absolutely not. We're going on to the next week. We're building from here. But people in their head, if they're not asking questions, and they're out there and people not being coached by people, right? They're like, do you know what? Oh, I better make up for that session I missed last week. And then what's going to happen is a couple of days down the road, they're still going to be in a hole because they're overdoing it. So...
Because that did happen to me actually a couple of weeks ago, well, maybe 4 weeks ago. Now, I was just working all weekend and missed the long run. Yeah. And I think it was rest day on Monday, and I just wasn't feeling up for it, and I messaged Kieran and I said, "Listen, do I do my longer run today, or do I just start fresh tomorrow?" And he just messaged back and said, "Listen, forget about that, start again." But even with that reassurance, took weight off me that was even stressing my body out to trying to catch up. So definitely that reassurance has been massive, and at the other end of the phone, that's a big help, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah. And I think a good thing is,
you say, like,
but you've given yourself a nice window of training block as well. It's not all crammed into the last 7 or 8 weeks. Some people start late. At least with a long training block, you can afford that bad week, or whatever, that sick week, and pick it up again. Aisling, for you, has it all been training, or have you had any races over the last couple of weeks? Or
well, funny you talk about that, because I definitely feel like this week is kind of my slog week, and I definitely feel like this week is the hardest week. I don't know why. I was saying it to Ken, like the other day, I was like, came back and I was kind of, I just got really frustrated with myself because I was trying to run and I just couldn't hit the paces that I was supposed to hit, and I just had to stop, and I start like all this self-doubt, and I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to be able to run this. And it just, as soon as that kind of doubt creeps in, it just completely takes over to the point of I can't run. I just kind of literally had to stop myself. I stopped the watch that I had the pace kind of programmed in, because if the watch starts telling me, if she keeps telling me in my ear, you're not hitting the zone, I have to get rid of her. So I just started then a normal run and just kind of just said, look, do what you can do. And, spoke to Ken about it afterwards, but definitely I think for some reason it does feel like it's been a long block, but then also in the back of my head, I have the Zurich half coming up in about 4 weeks now. So yeah, that's kind of playing on my mind now, because I feel like, it's coming fast, and I'm actually in my head, I'm going, how can I even run this? But yeah, let's see. I kind of also hope that this week is a little bit more of a down week, because we're heading away actually to the Six Nations in Rome from Thursday. So I'm going to hopefully use that as a little bit of a kind of a break to kind of start fresh maybe next week. But like that, I think definitely, I suppose as well for me, not maybe putting in enough time maybe to, recovery, when your legs are absolutely paining you to touch them and full of knots, then you're kind of going, okay, I need to sort this out here. And then as well, definitely for female runners, for me, time of the month, it just whacks me out as well. And that's also another thing that hugely affects me, usually for about a week every month. And it does help you when you're out there and you're doing it, but you're definitely not able to hit those paces and, the recovery. You just kind of feel like you're almost like running through water. Sometimes that's how I describe it. It's like you're telling your legs to move, but they're not going as quick as you want them to. But again, it's all normal. And it's just one of those things that you have to kind of realize that, not to put as much pressure if you're not hitting those paces, and to just use it to just go out and do what you can.
Yeah, great points there. Yeah, absolutely. And we've addressed some of those subjects on previous podcasts as well, and the importance in particular for women, as you said, to kind of guide themselves around, everything that, the topics that you mentioned there as well. Just two things there that you brought up, actually. And Ken, again, I might just bring you back in.
Yeah.
The importance of like having that down week, still living your life, being able to have a night out, being able to go away for a few days, maybe, like we're not professionals here, but still we need to allow that bit of time to live the life.
Yeah, definitely, because we're not full of it. There's things happening there. You need breaks in your training and stuff like that, right? And you can always, like, it's like everything Ash like has brought up is like she needs to tell me, like, if she's going through a tough week or anything like that, and the training is getting top, or time to mind, everything like that, it's okay to say that to the coach, because the coach is going to go, right, oh Jesus, move on, like, do the faster workout. But if the coach doesn't know that you're tired or there's other things going on, then they're going to be giving you harder sessions. But like, it's just helping the coach with communication, and we can pull back on all these things, you know?
Yeah. The other one I'm going to ask you about, and I'm going to ask, like, relate this to everybody that's here, but even to everybody that's listening, fitting in races, maybe, like, again, we're 11 weeks to go now, again, there's two distances there. There's the half and the full. The importance of getting a race in, maybe, I think for the full, it's always nice to get something in maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the marathon, or again, maybe similar for the half. What would be your advice there?
Mine, yeah, it's just like even smaller races, sometimes every couple of weeks, just getting something in to change the thing, because we can be training and training and training. If we're throwing in a park run, or we're throwing in a smaller, if we're replacing like an interval session with a 5K race or something like that, it's just to change it up. Because on race day, if we go in on race day and we haven't raced, it's all new to us. So it's like the guys running the half marathon, all that is going to be good prep later on for running the full.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's like, the nerves of race day, preparing your gels, doing all this. Like, if you can practice that, I know you might be doing your normal fueling for shorter races, but it's just, as you said, there's something about a race that if you haven't raced in months, like I found it now recently, coming back to racing is it's a shock to the system. So you kind of need to train yourself in that as well, I find.
So like the race in, the race in 4 weeks, the race in 4 weeks that Aisling's going to run is going to tell me an awful lot about how much I need to change or not change in the training.
Yeah.
For Cork, so, but sorry for interrupting.
No, it's good point.
No, I was going to say about the Carlingford one that we done, like, we had serious imposter syndrome, like, at the start of it, like, because people were warming up and we were like, do we warm up, or do we bring stuff down to the race lane?
What do
you do? Like, so it was definitely.
Do I join this queue to go to the toilet? We'll have time, Julie. Pretty race.
So like that would really put you off, if you weren't prepared for that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the gels
definitely.
and all that. Like, but just like the whole atmosphere and everything, and where you need to be doing, and like everybody's in the pen at the start from like 5 minutes or 10 minutes maybe in, all that kind of stuff is certainly, you want to experience that before Cork firstly.
Yeah.
We touched on it there a bit. Paul, going to bring you in on this one. As you said, you're getting up to 14 miles now. Like, have you started to experiment with fueling and water, etc.? Have you brought that into your training yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year I did the half marathon, and it is interesting because listening to the podcast, often, you're talking about, some people can do marathons under 2 hours and other people can do half marathons under an hour. But for me, if I'm doing a marathon, I'm going to be out there for 4 hours, or a half marathon is 2 hours. So often my need for gel would be greater than, we'd say, Andy doing a half marathon. I might just need to take 4 gels, whereas he might have it finished and might need a jelly bean at the end, So it's interesting to know who needs what and how long are you on the road for. So for the half, I mean, I've got a group that we're kind of with as well. But so yeah, last year, to answer the question, I did experiment with gels, and I've now started to introduce it again for the longer runs. But I did also, I suppose, when I started last year, even if I was going out for a half an hour to 45 minutes, I said, I'll just take a gel just to see how it reacts, and how did I like it or didn't I like it. And I have to say, I'm not doing it because we were gifted, but I do like the precision gels. I think they're not overly flavorsome, or they're not, but they have for me, a nice texture.
Yeah.
Other people can't stand the texture, but it's good to know, because, and obviously I'm going into newer territory if I'm going over 2 hours, which I obviously will be doing way over 2 hours, as to know how hungry am I going to get. Or because even on Sunday I took out 2 gels, I think, but I was starving coming in. I was really hungry, and I thought, doing the half marathon last year, I think I only had 2 gels for the whole lot, but I don't know what it was about Sunday, but I was really hungry. And we were chatting afterwards going, does that mean I should have taken 4 gels, or should I don't know, bring a banana or something? I don't know,
But you see, it's a huge topic, and funny enough, we've recorded, this is the second episode we're recording this week. Damien also recorded with George from Precision Fuel and Hydration. That will also be going out on YouTube. So again, make sure you guys tune into that, and everybody listening if you haven't heard it either yet. But I can tell you from experience that it was the game changer for me. Getting my fueling right and I'm talking about, you know, trialing it and training in the long runs for several weeks beforehand, being able to stomach a gel every half an hour, which I hadn't been able to do previously, and also fueling well in the days leading up to it. So like the week of it, obviously, but in particular the Friday and Saturday before the big day, getting the fueling right. So like again, it's things to you're saying there you're hungry in your long run. It might actually be related to what you're eating Saturday evening as
Yeah,
much
yeah.
as what you're doing on Sunday, you know?
Chicken tikka masala definitely didn't work. Like,
Yeah, or
That's a
even a good,
risky one.
yeah, it is a risky one. Yeah, yeah. But
didn't do that.
even like your breakfast that morning, you know, if you, an hour or two before you go for the run, I know that's so hard because you're probably up early on whatever mornings you do your long runs, but like you're probably going to do it on race day. So trying to get that in a few times as well, getting a really good breakfast in, obviously give yourself time because you have to try a lot as well. You know, it's one thing taking the gels, but if you have a breakfast in the morning and then you're taking gels on top of it, how does that work, you know? So again, planning all those fine details is key, but definitely for a marathon you need to get the fueling right. I think it's probably after the training, that's the next most important thing.
But it's important, as you said, Brian, like you have to train the legs, obviously, but you also have to train your gut. Like
Mhm.
you have to be able to take on fuel. Like you can't get through a marathon. Well, you can, but it's not advised. But like
Mhm.
you need to be able to take fuel on board. So it's just as important to train for that as well as train your legs and your for running, you know.
But it
Yeah,
is getting, like, I think you said it there, Brian, and I was quite good for the half marathon with the carb loading and the meals leading up to it and drinking plenty of water beforehand. But obviously going over 2 hours running now is new for me. So,
yeah.
maybe
I
debatable.
think it's a completely different ball game when you start going over 15 miles. You know, like you get away with a half. I think most people, it doesn't matter whether you're 2 hours or an hour runner, I think most people can get through a half. Just that knowing that, you know, even at halfway, you've only 5 or 6 miles to go or whatever is a full is a very different, like you're going over the time limit that your body can store fuel without carrying it with you, you know. So it's critical. It's huge. Just to move on to another subject, maybe just again, we won't spend too long, but just in general for you all, I know some of you would have had experience with strength and conditioning beforehand, and some of you had a big part of your routines anyway. Has it continued? If you haven't been doing it, have you introduced it? And how have you fitted that into your schedule? Fergal, I'll start with you because I think you have a good background in strength and conditioning anyway.
Yeah, well, I haven't. I would have been going to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week, and that has certainly whittled down to maybe once or twice, just with the volume of running. And certainly with the CrossFit Games happening at the moment, the CrossFit Open, so like there's a workout every weekend. Like it's tough going trying to do peak strength and conditioning alongside like your running where you're trying to push the body as well. So as much as it has its benefits as well, I think it's just managing at 38, managing the body
Mhm.
and not overstraining it. So my focus is on the running, and I'm doing sort of not as intense strength and conditioning, but certainly like the base base level I have is what's really carrying me through the runs. Like I know that my body's
Yeah.
not going to collapse in a heap, if I haven't fueled correctly or if I push on, in the half marathon, like the last 2 miles there, like I was just, putting targets in people's backs, and I was going like I'm going here,
Mhm.
and just switched off the communication between the legs and the head,
Yeah.
and it was all based on the strength, like so that was.
Yeah. Angeline, you're similar, I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say again, it's back down to time. I'm lucky just to get the runs in at the moment. So yeah, I've just been focusing on the running. My strength probably and conditioning has whittled down probably to zero, if I'm gonna be honest, because it is hard. It is really hard. Like you see when you have 3 young kids and you're working full time and you have a business, it's really difficult to find the
Of
time.
course,
So
yeah.
I'm just focusing on the running. And if I'm getting that in, I'm
Mhm.
getting the odd strength, then it's good,
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
be too hard on yourself, I
Of
suppose. You
course,
can't
yeah.
you
Like
can't do everything, yeah.
there's a lot to fit in, yeah. Completely get it, yeah. Padraig, I know you certainly have introduced it, haven't you, over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. I know I just put out TikToks. I don't really do it. I just
Yeah.
no, that's a joke. Yeah, it was funny because Andy did send me a message. Okay, take it easy on strength and conditioning if you're not used to it at very beginning. And it was interesting because I was going, oh, I'm gung ho now. I can do this. Like I'll do 2 strength and conditioning and 4 runs a week. I'll be grand. And I actually find the strength and conditioning tires me more, like tires the legs more, particularly if it's focused on that, than the running bit. I feel, but I know it's important. And even having had the hamstring injury and going to my physio, and she's looking at me going, yeah, it may be a hamstring injury, but I think it's your hip is probably more of the issue, and focus on these exercises. That motivates me more because I know I have to do them to get right. And then running buddy Patrick was able to come in then and say, if you are doing these exercises for your physio, then maybe concentrate on your core. And, within his app, there is other exercises then that I was able to do, just, that wasn't putting pressure on the legs because I was doing some recovery strength conditioning to try and get back to normal, which nearly there, I think. But yeah, it probably is more important again for me at my age to make sure that I am looking at those weak spots and working on them. And yeah. But like it's all part of the journey. But I absolutely agree with Angeline and Fergal. You've just done your long run. You got strength and conditioning tomorrow. Which one would you prefer to do? I would prefer to do the run. I don't know if that's right. And if I have to cut something out,
you're the same as every other runner. Don't
I think
worry.
us runners are the worst in the world.
And I hope you wouldn't mind me saying, but my coach had me, Kieran, I've got a lot more runs this week coming. And I kind of went, is there a rest day in there? And he went, sure, take out the strength conditioning day. You'll be great thing. And I was going, oh, well, okay. But yeah, but I like to follow rules as well. So maybe I'd be guilty if I do that.
Aisling, how about you? Have you a space in your week for it?
I will say it's something I think when I suppose the running number of days running increased, I think that definitely kind of goes on the back foot. I think though, even from, I suppose before I was in a really good routine of going to the gym nearly every day. And then I think the membership ran out and I just hadn't been going. So I actually did go last night and I felt I could feel it today. But like, it's kind of interesting as well because I suppose when I was kind of getting into running and then also kind of in the gym, I think I was always fearful of, putting on the more muscle because I always feared that it would like slow you down. And I think it's kind of over the last few years, I learned a lot that, it is important there to have like your core strength, even in your muscles. Like you watch, the Olympics and you see the fastest runners and they're all like muscle. So it's something definitely, even from like this week, I said I really want to get back into it and prioritize it. It's something, I really love doing. And like that, like the guys say, it's all about, balancing time. Because when I go into the gym, I lose time. The next thing it's like an hour has passed, and then it's like 2 hours has passed. And, it's about really kind of, saying, oh, today I'll focus on this. But I would say that, I suppose I have a good kind of knowledge of it. It's just to put the structure in place, because it's something I do really enjoy. And it's something that I definitely, do want to start incorporating more of it in. But then it's always important as well because previously before, there's times where you'll be in the gym and you're doing whatever leg presses and it feels great, and next thing you're increasing the weight, and then you're putting too much pressure on your knees and things like that. So I think it's always important as well to not go too crazy too quick, because even Padraig at my age, I did have a really bad injury before with my knee, and I think it maybe came from my hip, and I was out for nearly a year and they couldn't tell me what happened with it. So that's always in the back of my mind as well, not to go too crazy and putting too much pressure on your joints, because it can, there's only so much, I suppose, that they can take.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken, 11 weeks to go. We probably touch back in with these guys again, maybe with 4 or 5 weeks to go. But the key things now, maybe between now and like the next phase, I think again that as we spoke about the length of the runs now are starting, the long runs are becoming more key. So your top tips maybe for both half and full over the next couple of weeks.
Like the top tip is your communication needs to be brilliant with Karen, with me, and things like that. Because as we up the runs, as we increase the sessions, right? As you integrate your strength and conditioning in, right? Like if I'm giving you a really hard session on a Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, and you're done an intense session of squatting and legs, then that's going to be the reason you can't do your interval workout the next day. So it's you integrating stuff in that I don't know about is going to lead us not to get to the same thing. So again, it's you being on the same page with Karen. Like if you're discussing stuff with Patrick or Sumi, we all need to be on the same page because I'm here, Patrick is here, and Karen's here to help you guys. It's totally about what ye can achieve out of this, right? But that'll only come true if we know everything that's going on, right? If you're sick or if you're anything, like the long runs will ramp up, and the marathon you'll be up to doing 30K plus and stuff. And your fueling needs to be practiced extensively in that, you know, because there's no point turning up on the day and going, right, I'm going to practice today. And you might be at the side of the ditch after 20K going, oh my God, I don't like those gels.
Yeah. And there's
definitely.
no toilet.
Andy, what would be your top tips for the guys and everybody listening?
Yeah, I think the big thing is to listen to your body as well. Like as Fergal said there the other day, went for a run, he felt a bit of a niggle, so he stopped. Brilliant. Like don't try and push yourself through. As Ken was saying, if you're tired, that's okay too. Take a rest day. Like I know from especially I know Ken, obviously, I know Karen coaches me. Like he's not going to get on your case, say, why'd you take a rest day? Do you know? If you need a rest day, or like ring the lads, ring Ken, ring Karen, tell them, look, this is the situation I'm in here. Like as you said, none of us are professionals. So the big thing for me is listen to your body. There's going to be days that you're going to be tired. The plan is going to ramp up and it's going to be, this is a slog. But just be honest with yourself and be honest with your coaches, as Ken said.
I'm going to ask each one of you one last question, and we'll wrap it up after that. Have your expectations changed since our first episode? So I think you all came on and gave me and the lads a bit of what you might be hoping to achieve in the marathon, the half marathon. I'll start with you, Padraig. Are you still on that same time, or do you think you can go better? I'm not asking you to give a time now, by the way, but how's your confidence? Maybe your confidence, has your confidence grown?
Well, I'm glad you didn't record it after the hamstring injury.
Or is it too early to say? Maybe I suppose.
No, actually, my wife asked me last night. She said, "Are you confident that you're going to finish? Are you confident?" And I said, "I am. I'm more confident now that I'll definitely get to the start line. And I think if I get to the start line, I will do what I said I will do, which is a slow marathon. But it's still,
a marathon is a marathon.
A marathon is a marathon. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I am confident, and I'm really enjoying the training. So I think the more I enjoy it, the better I'll be to get to the start line. So yeah, happy.
Angeline?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty confident that I might hit that time that I did once say. So I think it's just about putting the training in, and I suppose the confidence of doing that half marathon and hitting the time. But I'm still widely aware that there's same again to go. So I'm just going to put in the miles and still aim for that. That's the thing.
Brilliant. Fergal?
Yeah, I think my time has got less. I think I said sub 4, but we're aiming for 3:30 now. So, but it's going to be tight.
Yeah, we come back in 5 weeks. Don't be running me. I'll be pacing 3 hours. You can run with me.
Yeah,
it's going to be tight. Like that half marathon was tight, but so it's this like 13 miles plus is going to be a real tester. Like So
But I
we're
think it's
aiming for
good.
that. And if I miss it, I
Yeah.
miss it. But like that's what we're aiming for.
I think everybody's different too. Like again, and so many people will be listening to this. For a lot of people, the goal is just to finish, and that's fine. For some people, the goal is a time, and that's fine as well. And I think, whatever you're
Yeah.
motivated by, both are great. So like if you're motivated by a time, that's a good thing as well. So I think it's no harm to have a target either, and it keeps you honest. Aisling, what about you?
I'm confident that we'll have all the training and everything done. I think my biggest fear right now, what the guys were already saying, is like nerves kind of take over, self-doubt, things like that. So I think definitely having the Zurich, in a couple of weeks. And then also I have a 10 mile, I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks before as well, the Cork. So I think they will definitely stand to me. And then I think as well, just like you said, maybe practicing nutrition. Gels isn't something I've ever properly kind of taken. But I do find sometimes there you're coming towards the end of the race and you're kind of hitting a wall. So I think that's something definitely I need to look at now for the next few weeks. Time-wise, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like this week I've been kind of doubting a lot. But again, I think that's part of it. You've weeks where you're confident, weeks where you're unsure. But yeah, I think we still have a lot more time to play with. So I think that's a good thing.
I think the big thing as well, like I know 11 weeks sounds daunting, and she's like, that's a long way away. It's a lot of training and that. So like, I know you're going to be nervous and stuff, but there's loads of time. There really is. Like,
I'm going to say this to you, and I think Andy would back me up here, or Ken. I'm not so sure. Ken, how many you've done one marathon, Ken, haven't you?
Yeah, just for the hell of it.
The fast one,
yeah.
But I genuinely think, and I mean this, like, and because I know this speaking from my own experience as well, that, and I've heard some of the things you've been just saying there about trying to find a time, and it's not easy, like, but I genuinely think after you do a marathon or a half marathon, and it all comes to an end, maybe you look back and you say, I actually miss it. So I think enjoy the journey as well is very important. I know it can be a slog. I know it can be challenging. I know it can be time consuming, but try and enjoy it as best you can. The weather is starting to improve now. The longer evenings are coming in. So like, I think it's important to try and enjoy it as well. Because I think at the end you will say it to yourself, I actually did enjoy it. No matter how much you give out and bitch your way along it. So that's my final tip, enjoying the journey.
You're not retired yet, Brian, though, yeah?
Ooh,
no, that's Damien.
Yeah.
You're the wrong host.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I suppose, look, just again, we will be part of the day in many ways. Myself and Andy are both pacing. Ken will be there on the sideline shouting abuse at somebody. Damien, I don't know, we'll get him to hold some sign or something like that on the course. But delighted to have you on, guys. Really appreciate it. I think people will take a lot out of tonight's episode. This one, and as I said, the one with George again from Precision Fuel Hydration are going to be going out in quick succession, so plenty for people to tune in and listen to and gain advice, and great advice from you guys as well. And again, thanks Ken for dropping in with the lads as well tonight. So thanks everybody, much appreciated.